Hi, good night. So I want to try to answer some questions I've gotten in these days. So yeah, if you have already seen the other videos I recorded that I love languages. I'm not a linguist, but I read a lot. Well, I have a lot of experience learning, and yeah, I wanted to make some concepts clear, maybe for you, or well, maybe not clear, but I want to speak from my experience. And that's why today I wanted to speak about what is a language, because there are a lot of people who wonder the same, and there are so many books written about it, but I just wanted to give my personal opinion. Well, you have you have heard a lot of times that there are some books or some newspapers who said which is the most difficult language in the world to learn. Or sometimes as well you heard like there are easier languages and other ones which are more difficult. Well, I I was I just wanted to tell you that a language is a code. It means that it's not really something natural. I mean, I was some time ago like trying to talk to a friend of mine, and I mean, he have never learned any other language. He only speaks Spanish, and I asked him why, for example, in Spanish, the name for a table is mesa, and he answered me, "Oh, because it's like this." But that's not an answer, no? So I mean, if you go to China or you go to any country in the world and you show them a photo of a table, everybody's gonna understand. But in every language, there are different words, no? I don't know, German tisch, Italian tavolo, but yeah, I can go. So the vocabulary is something so relative that you cannot imagine it really. I mean, person is like there are a lot of yeah, psychologists and people who have tried like to know where all the words originate, but it's like let's take an example. If you, for example, you have you are with some friends of you, and then you all agree that you're gonna call Mesa, I don't know, you just invent a word, and if you use a word between you, you understand it. But if other people listen to you, nobody's gonna understand it. So for me, a language is a system you have to learn, a system who has been created by people who speak it. Because I think maybe one day one person said something like, yeah, like a word to express himself or pointing at something, and then everybody repeats it, and that's why everybody understands it. Because since we are little, since we grew up, we heard all the codes, we heard all the things. That's why we think that it's really natural, it's really like this, but it's a code we learn because we we grow up in this environment, and yeah, that's right. So yeah, there are so many languages in the world you cannot really imagine. And about the thing I said at the beginning of my video, that sometimes some people say which is the yeah, most difficult language in the world. And yeah, there are a lot of people who tend to say Chinese, who tend to say, yeah, I don't know. But I think it's so relative because actually it depends where you come from. For example, if you are from, yeah, I don't know, if you are Spanish, for me it's really easy to learn Italian. But if you are English, maybe for you it's easier to learn Dutch. So that's not so easy. I mean, you can say, okay, there are some languages that English people don't don't learn easily, but you cannot say like write somewhere this is the most difficult language in the world because it doesn't exist. And yeah, there are a lot of factors as well, social factors or another kind of things that that can't change this. Yeah, for example, if you grow up in the States and your family comes from Vietnam, and then from little you listen this language, then for you it's gonna be easier. Or yeah, I don't know. So and it's as well. It depends on the person. I think there are people who have easier to learn languages, and other ones who is for and for them sometimes it's a little difficult. So maybe I don't know if a person who yeah. So if there is a person who is used to learn languages, and then you just take another language, is not that difficult. So that's why I mean it doesn't exist the most difficult language in the world, and yeah, so that's why maybe you are a little yeah sad when you try to read about languages, because the the answers are not really accurate, and that's why, because there's no answers. And another thing, I was telling you about languages at the beginning of the video. I told as well that some people say one language is more perfect, or one language express better things than other languages, and I wanted to tell you that it's false. Because every language in the world can express almost everything. I mean, I think there was a Spanish explorer like two or 300 years ago, and when he arrived to America, he saw that people there spoke another languages, that they didn't have like any literature or something like this, and he had a conclusion. He said that their language was so easy that they couldn't think really like in a very very intelligent way, and that's not true. Because sometimes if you make an analysis of some languages in Africa, for example, where people don't used to go to school a lot, or people don't, yeah, I mean little villages where people don't have this tradition, or I mean maybe they haven't had the money to do it, or the opportunities, and if you analyze these languages, I mean, they can be so difficult, even more difficult than English, and more difficult than Spanish, more difficult than German. They have a lot of, yeah, a lot of characteristics that for us are alien. That, yeah, and maybe, yeah, maybe they are more difficult. I mean, from grammar. But it doesn't mean that the languages who are more difficult or who are easier, that people who speak them are intelligent or not. That doesn't have anything to do. I mean, if every language has its ways to express itself, I mean, maybe I give a little example. For example, in English you say I am 20 years old, and in Spanish you say I have 20 years old. So I mean, it's a little different, because in English you say like you are the years you are, but in Spanish it's like if you had behind these years. So it's yeah, it's not that easy sometimes. And yeah, that's what I wanted to tell you, that and to finish my video, that language is a system. It's not really a natural system, and if you learn the rules for this system, you're gonna be able to understand people. So I really encourage you. And if you heard the language is really difficult to learn or something like this, it's not true. I mean, it depends on the time you have, on the surrounding you have as well. Because if you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend who comes from this country, and this person can help you, then it's really nice. And yeah, I mean, and no language is better than the other one, really. I mean, all languages can say almost everything. Maybe there are some languages that don't have some vocabulary, because we have lived that with English. For example, English have so much vocabulary, like informatics and everything, because of all these companies who have been originated in the USA, or yeah, I don't know, like Microsoft or something like this. And in Spanish, for example, or in Italian, we use a lot of English words like software, hardware,